Good morning, everyone. My name is Sanathana Konugolu Venkata Sekar, a senior researcher from BioPhotonics at Tyndall. Today, I will be presenting the role and vision of photonics in healthcare. Just to start with, that's how our world used to look during 16th or 17th century. And this is how it looks today. Tall skyscrapers and the revolution of communication that has made our entire world into a global village. There are many questions regarding did we become better or worse? But all of us can unanimously agree that our life expectancy has increased. That means the development of science that has brought forth many of the things. Most importantly, the better healthcare system for us that has evolved with time over centuries, that has allowed us to live longer. With this motivation, I would like to start my presentation on how, in particular, light has changed our lifestyle and making this world better place to live today, and how it has promising stuff to make this world better place to live tomorrow. So this is the brief outline of my talk today. First, I will discuss how light is changing our healthcare system today. And then followed by that, I will show you how the future of the light-based tools is going to change our healthcare system in future. So just to start with, this is how the global medical device imaging market looks like. You all would have went for X-ray, CT scan, or MRI tools. These are not based on light. For example, X-ray use ionizing radiation that can be carcinogenic. But if you see, the most famous one for imaging, or the most of the market, 64% of it, is being taken up by optical imaging. For example, ophthalmology, that is used in eye, light used for eye, or endoscopy forms a big chunk of market as compared to radiology, which uses CT scans or X-rays or MRIs. So this simply shows how big the share of light in today's world and how it is shaping our healthcare market. Light can be used for disinfection or decontamination. For example, during the pandemic, light can be used for disinfection of various surgical tools or masks in a clinical setting. It also can be used for getting rid of germs in our drinking water, that is UV light sterilization, and also they can be used for preserving our fruits or other food material. Here is few examples of how light can be used for diagnosis. On the left-hand side, you have OCT, optical coherence tomography, where a device uses light technology to see through your eye. For example, you can see here clearly the back end of your eye, that is the retina, your fovea, and the multi-layer structure of it. This plays significant role in understanding the evolution of understanding the various diseases related to the retina at back of your eye plane. On the right-hand side, you have endoscopes. These are very, very general tool. As you remember from the previous slide, it forms a major chunk of market, $32 billion in right now. What it does is basically it has a very small camera and it enters through your digestive tract to see various polyps and other surfaces to see whether they are looking normal, or is there any health problem. It can detect some things like cancer as well. So this is how light can be used for diagnosis. So here is an example of how light can be used for surgery. So many of you would have known, most of us will be knowing what laser surgery is, how laser surgery can get rid of your glasses that you use today. And laparoscopy is minimally, on the right-hand side, you have laparoscopy, which is a minimal invasive surgery where in particular the surgery around on your stomach can be, or abdomen can be done with a minimal invasive few holes, and they can provide great results without having a lot of complications related to completely open abdominal surgeries. In this slide, I am going to present how light can be used to see small things. Already you would have seen some of the microscopic images where you can see a small bacteria or a small dirt in your hand. So there is a special version microscope that has been invented recently, which can see really small things. So as small as your nucleus within your cell, human cell. So it is so powerful that you can see on the left-hand side where it has shown a central green color nucleus, inner nucleus, and the outer red color nucleus shell. So on the right-hand side, I'm going to show you what this left-hand side actually shows. That is the outer ring of the nucleus that is red in color, and the inner part, which is shown in green color. So it can reach as much as 200 micron or better resolution. And this particular microscope has been awarded Nobel Prize in 2014 to these three gentlemen who invented this technique of super resolved fluorescence microscopy. So how does this work? Quickly, I can show you. Typically, this is how our traditional microscope look like. Let's take this green light, and when you try to move stuff through this green light, you see there are two particles, but they are shining simultaneously, which means you get only such a broad resolution. You can't resolve individual particles. But what we do in this super resolution microscope is actually you have a donut that is in red color that you create with another light, which is actually going to deplete the green light that is forming. That means you are going to image only the central region of your donut, which means when you have two different points, you are going to image one point at a time, and there is no imaging of the second point. There is a gap. Now you are going to image the second point. As you can see from here, instead of having a broader, less resolved microscope, by having these two different configuration where you have a green light and then you have a donut that can deplete the light, you get better resolution. As you can see, it can resolve two different particles that was not possible before. So this is a recent advancement in how small we can image things. Like I showed you before, that we can image as small as things like nucleus in our cells. So with this, so what I covered is not exhaustive, it's just few things, what light is doing today in the previous slides. Now, next I am going to present some of the few things that light is foreseen to bring to us, that can benefit our healthcare system. And to start with, I am going to give a little bit of background in next 4 slides. I would request audience to focus a bit more because it's something to pay attention because it's a bit more detailed science. So the first thing to mention is electromagnetic spectrum. As you see, it spans from gamma rays all the way till FM and AM waves. And the visible light, or the light that includes ultraviolet, visible, and infrared light, is located at this part of the spectrum. And in particular, the visible light that we see things is located this small area from 400 to 700 nanometers or smaller. So this is the first point. That's how the broad is our electromagnetic spectrum. In the next slide, as you can see, X-ray uses this part of electromagnetic spectrum, which is really ionizing radiation. And visible NIR light uses this particular part of electromagnetic spectrum, and magnetic resonance uses this particular part of electromagnetic spectrum. And if you can see from here, this is the background, red in color is the absorption of water. The absorption of water is least in NIR region around 600 to 1100 nanometers, which means actually light can penetrate deep in the tissue at this particular window and wavelength. So why not use light for imaging through the body? As I showed you in the previous slides, currently we can't use light to image through the body. But it is shown in this slide that it is possible because of low absorption of water, because our human body is mostly made of water. There is a possibility that we can see through our human body, provided we address some of the challenges. And in addition, it is in this particular region, that is NIR region, we have various tissue biomarkers like hemoglobin, oxydeoxy, and lipid, water, collagen, tyrosine, and thyroglobulin, lots of other chromophores that have signatures, which means we can use them for diagnosis as well as for the therapeutic purposes, therapeutic and surgical guidance purposes. So which means if we can cleverly use these various tissue chromophores, biomarkers, and we can use them for various applications of human body, like for example in thyroid, breast, or for abdomen, or for bone applications. But why it is not existing today? Today we don't have any of these kind of devices where we can use light to address solutions for various organs, like I showed you here. The reason can be related to this particular slide. So typically in a transparent medium, light travels straight, but in a diffuse media, the light takes a random walk, like you can see here. So in simple terms, for example, it's a water. When you shine laser light, it goes through straight. But in a diffusive light, where you add a drop of milk, for example, inside this cuvette, it gets diffused. So this is an example of how our human body is. Just another example that I show on the right-hand side, where by adding milk, the medium becomes very turbid and we can't see through. As you can see, human body is very turbid, so we can't see through it. But there are some examples in the science that are working in this particular area, which is trying hard to get across this turbidity of our human body so that we can see through human body. And I'm going to give some of the emerging examples, which can be potential solutions in future of light for healthcare that can make our life better to live on this planet. The first example is, for example, can we use light for breast cancer detection? So on the extreme left, you can see the current state of the art technology, that is mammography, and where they use X-rays, ionizing radiation, for breast cancer screening. As you know, breast cancer is quite common in our world, and using ionizing radiation may not be appropriate because this can cause, by itself, radiation can cause other complications like cancer. So as you can see, this particular group has shown us using completely light, they can easily characterize various biomarkers like hemoglobin, oxy and deoxy, total hemoglobin, lipid, water, and collagen content. For example, these kind of devices, when they go through a lot of rigorous technical process, can be one of the future technology. So how about to see through the whole body? So for example, this is one of the things that the world of photonics is working towards, where they want to use light. As I said, light is, when light goes through our human body, it's quite turbid, but we can use the resolution of ultrasound. So light has great contrast. As I showed you, there are different tissue biomarkers, but it is very poor in resolution. On the other hand, ultrasound, which you use, for example, during pregnancy, when you want to see the fetus, you use ultrasound, has very bad contrast. Means we can't characterize various tissue biomarkers like hemoglobin, lipid, water, collagen, but it has very good resolution. How about combining them both? So that's what this device does, where it combines ultrasound, that is the resolution of the ultrasound, along with the contrast of the light to provide us the benefit of both, that is to provide resolution as well as the contrast of the visible light. Theoretically, estimations show that we can propagate, that we can image as deep as 18 centimeter. As you can see, it's more or less the entire human body when it's scanned across human body. And this has potential to scan through the whole body, as I was saying before. What else that is emerging in light for healthcare? For example, optogenetics, where we can use light to control neural activity in human brain. So scientists have already shown where they can use blue light to trigger neural activity in genetically modified brain cells of mice, and where they were able to control the neural activity. At the same time, we can also use light to understand what our brain is thinking. So this can be used for creating a better optimized machine-human interface. As you see, this kind of technology has dual use. Like, for example, it can be used in epilepsy, where people suffer with neural disorders, to correct it by using light, or we can use it for interfacing humans with machines in future. So that's a very interesting technology. So with this, I have this last slide where another trend of light, where we are trying to make everything really, really small. And all of us have smartphone. Can we use smartphone for everything that is related to light? For example, how about a spectrometer, to take the spectrum of your hand and see what's your oxygenation? Another simple example of using smartphone, or already it's there in your Fitbit or Apple Watches, that measuring your heart rate during your cardio, and also measuring your oxygen saturation. So this is one of the trends that is moving, where we are trying to integrate more and more solution into the devices like your mobile phone, so that it can be used for broad purposes. So next example that might come in the market is measuring your blood pressure or blood glucose and other vital biomarkers that will help us to keep our health in good way during our day-to-day activities, and to keep our health in good condition. With this, I would like to thank Irish Photonics Integration Center for providing me an opportunity to present how light is used in healthcare system today, and what are the various possibilities of light, how it's going to change our future healthcare system as well. Thank you so much for your patient listening, and I'm open for questions. Thank you.